Welcome to episode 11 of our second season on the Surnames of Appalachia and the Antebellum South. For those of you searching for names not covered today, please write to me at vantagepoint22@gmail.com and I'll send you a catalog that lists each name and the episode in which it was covered. It'll be an attachment in a PDF file. On today's show, we'll investigate 6 more names that were requested by people just like you. Now, if you're new to the channel, I try to mix in a bit of history and trivia along with the origin and meaning of the surnames. I hope that you will see that while we might be patriotic Americans, we share cultural traits with long-dead people who never saw the land of the free and the home of the brave. I hope you'll join me. Number 1, Fry. Fry. After research on the surname Fry, I came away with a deepening respect for its history. Before I tell you about one of the founders of the American branch of the family, let me say that this surname originated in England between 450 and 1100 AD. What surprised me is that it had nothing to do with working as a chef or a fry cook in a pub that was their version of a Waffle House, especially on midnight on Fridays. Instead, it was an Old English way of saying freed or free. And looking around the aisles, I discovered that Western Ulster has several families named Fry, but McClysick says that Fry in Ireland is mostly used as a synonym for Ferris. One of the earliest members of the Fry family to make America their home was Joshua Fry. He was born in England somewhere around the turn of the 18th century. Joshua moved to Virginia circa 1726 and worked as a soldier, land surveyor like a good old George Washington, and a politician, again like good old George Washington. I think that Joshua Fry is best remembered, though, not for being a land surveyor necessarily and a politician, but he was the creator of the Fry-Jefferson map of Virginia, a very important map early on in the cartographic history of the United States. Sadly, Joshua Fry sustained fatal injuries when he fell off a horse in 1754. At the end of the day, I'm confident that Fry is an Old English name that could have been used as a synonym for Ferris in Ireland. So check your paper trail to see for sure. Number 2, Kennedy or Kennedy. Folks, I make no respect that I love America and its traditions, but I have grave concerns about the future of our country. With that said, there was a time when most of our elected officials on either side of the political aisle likewise loved the country, its people, and its traditions. Now, I've studied John F. Kennedy for most of my life, and I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt that while he had women issues, and he had a lot of them, he loved his country and he loved its people. Now, you might know that the slain president had a collection of advisors that some folks called the Irish Mafia. They included his brother Bobby, Kenneth O'Donnell, Larry O'Brien, and David Powers. Now, it looks like Robert Kennedy Jr. is joining up with Trump right now. Let me know what you think about that in the comments section. Interesting. JFK was also labeled an Irish Catholic, but was his surname of Irish origin? Well, yes it was. Kennedy is a more English-friendly spelling of which means ugly head. Now, Kennedy is also found in Scotland, but according to McClysick, the Scottish Kennedys were once Irish Gaels. Now, as I show in my video on King James and the Ulster plantation, there have always been movements of people back and forth between Scotland and Ireland. In case you want to check out that video for yourself, I'll create a link to it in the description. I'll also post a link to my analysis of JFK's last speech, and in that speech, of course, you will hear me enunciate some of the vocabulary that Kennedy would have used on that last auspicious occasion. Gosh, don't shoot me. At the end of the day, I'm confident that Kennedy or Kennedy share the same Gaelic origins as each other. Number 3, Shipley. I think the story of the Shipley family in America is interesting because it shows their migration and provides a snapshot of how the culture of the Upper South spread westward from Appalachia. Nathan Shipley was born in or near Granger County, Tennessee in 1811. He was apparently the first of his line to be born in America. He married a woman named Margaret, and in 1850 they still lived in Granger County and had 6 children. Now, as the crow flies, he would have probably lived somewhere around about 40 miles from me here in Campbell County, Tennessee. At least one of their kids headed west. His name was John Christopher Shipley. He had children or grandchildren that lived in Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas, and no doubt still does. As you might remember from American history and even the movies, sheep herders were seen by cowboys as invaders that destroyed public grazing lands. In the case of the westward moving Shipley family, it's a good thing that people forgot Shipley originated in England as one who dwelled by the sheep-lay or field. Now, I couldn't find Shipley among the traditional surnames of Ireland, Scotland, or Wales, so I'm confident that Shipley came from England. Now, they could have been livers, they could have lived by a sheep-ley or a sheep enclosure without being sheep herders, but I doubt it. Number 4, McDaniel. When I received this request, I just knew that someone in Ireland or Scotland took a liking to the biblical name Daniel. As it turns out, it originated in Ireland and Scotland as misspellings of McDonald in Ireland and MacDonald in Scotland. In either case, these families can be traced back to Somerled, the mid-12th century Norse Gaelic chieftain whose lands eventually included Argyll and the Isles. If you come across the title of Lord of the Isles as you do research, rest assured that it's a real title that traces back to Somerled. Looking closer to home, there were early immigrants to the Antebellum South named McDaniel, that's for sure. In fact, it looks like they came to the South first. In the book, Our McDaniel Family, published in 1998 by Julia Roper and Joseph Fleming, they identified James Washington McDaniel and Margaret Phipps McDaniel as the founders of their American family, which they claim dates to the late 1700s. They lived in Burke, McDowell, and Rutherford counties in North Carolina, but not at the same time, of course. They may have had family living in those different places, but not, you know what I mean. Roper and Fleming go on to claim that the McDaniels have since scattered around the country and are related to each other. Now, unless, of course, there was some hanky-panky in the old woodpile. Now, I don't know about you, but a woodpile sounds kind of splintery to me. My ancestors probably would have used a hayloft. At the end of the day, I'm confident that McDaniel is either Scottish or Irish, depending on where your paper trail leads you. It might be one of those others. Number 5. Number 5, Beaver or Beaver. There are at least 3 origins for this Anglo-French or German name. First, there's the Old English and German versions. In England and Germany, it was given to a person who resembled a beaver. Now that would be some Polaroid, wouldn't it? The other version formed in England after the Norman Conquest in 1066, and it oddly enough meant fair view. With that information behind us, I suspect that you're now wondering about Justin Bieber. Here I'm asking a question posed by the great philosopher from England, John Michael Osborne. When he was asked by a reporter if he likes Justin Bieber, Osborne retorted, "What's a Bieber?" Say, do you know the stage name for that great philosopher? If you do, please write it in the comment section. Now, one could think of Beaver as a fair view of a person who looked like a furry critter, but that wouldn't be accurate. After all, it could have been a fair view of a village or a lass walking her sheep in the glen. Moving closer to home, the surname has been in the South and Appalachia for a couple of centuries. Angela Beaver Simmons and Luther Ray Beaver published a book on the Beaver family of Iredell County, North Carolina in 2022. But their focus is on the 20th century. Were there beavers here before them? Indeed there were. Around 1800, Major William Beavers and his wife Elizabeth established a tavern near Pittsylvania, Virginia. Now that was a rather posh place to hang out or to spend the night. In fact, Senator John C. Calhoun of South Carolina enjoyed staying there on his journeys to and from Washington, D.C. At the end of the day, you'll need a paper trail to see if your line leads to England, Germany, or France. Number 6, hand. Since all normal, healthy people know about the appendage we call a hand, there are plenty of potential places to look to discover where your line originated. That's sad but true. I can tell you that it came from the Teutonic peoples of Northern Europe, principally the Dutch, German, and the Germanic ancestors of the English. In all cases, it was applied to a person who had a peculiar or deformed appendage. On a more positive note, it could have been given to a person with great skill set in his or her appendages or hands. Good hand-eye coordination, perhaps. There's also an Irish Gaelic origin and a Jewish form as well. This is one of those names I think that you might just need a paper trail and DNA to locate the origin of your line. Well, folks, that's about all I have for you today. I hope you got something meaningful out of the discussion and will join me here again on the Vantage Point. Until we meet again, may the good Lord bless and keep you. May He make His face shine on you and give you peace. Bye-bye.